Thank you so much. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining this session. I am your host for the day, Anuj Gupta from D2O, Design to Occupancy, and I'll be here as a moderator of the session. You can say anchor of the session also. So today is the 5th day of World Green Building Week, and why we are here. So let me share like a few thoughts and why we are here and what is the meaning of PJMT and what is the World Green Building Week. So PJMT's World Green Building Week 2021 is a week-long celebration from 20 to 24 September, along with the Indian Green Building Council in association with the GMRIT University, Rajam, Andhra Pradesh. So if you are from GMRIT University, please, we are glad to hear, and other esteemed architecture engineering universities pan India. So till today, we have done before 4 more sessions. So if you are you want to learn about the previous sessions, you just go to the PJMT website and you can have more details on it. The week witnessed our long and strong commitment in adapting and advocating creation of greener built environment and encouraging a nature responsive quality lifestyle. Today, on the 5th day of our web learning series dedicated to the World Green Building Week, because we are gathered here for another insightful session from industry leaders and pioneers. So thank you so much once again for joining this session. Now, I would like to invite our keynote person, Ms. Payal Jain. She is a founder trustee, Prem Jain Memorial Trust. Let me give a brief about her. She is a founder trustee of PJMT, and her career's its mission to create awareness and advocacy about the environment, with focus on sustainability through education, identifying future leaders, catalyze global development. As a crusader for the environment, her belief is to inspire the next generation to follow the path leading to the greener earth. Her passion for sustainability and love for Mother Nature reflecting through use of natural yarns, vegetable dyes, handloom textiles, hand block prints, indigenous embroideries, and sustainable work ethics and practices. So I welcome Ms. Payal Jain. Please, ma'am, come forward and address the gathering.
Thank you very much, Anuj. And thank you to everybody who's been with us through this week. Today is our day 5 and 5th session. And we're very excited to have Mala Singh with us, who is a crusader of green, of sustainability. That is all she lives, eats, breathes sustainability. So thank you very much, Mala, for being here to inspire our students. We're really looking forward to it. Thank you to all the students who are here and to our institute, which is tied up with us for this session. Thank you, Anuj. Thank you, Vijay Kumarji. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I won't take more time. I'm just hoping all our students take away something from this session and then join the crusade of green. I truly believe it is each one of us who has to believe in green and believe in a sustainable way of living. It is not going to be the neighbor. It's not going to be the next door person. It's not going to be your friend. It has to be each one of us who drive this forward. Thank you very much. Thank you. I will sign off here.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us and sharing your thoughts on the subject. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next part. I would like to invite Dr. A. Vijay Kumar, Professor and Head of the Department of Civil Engineering from GMR Institute of Technology. Because from without the GMR support, this event could not be possible. So I welcome him. And sir, if you can just address the gathering for today.
Yeah. Thank you, Anuji. So good afternoon and one are present here. So outside, I'm extremely happy to invite all the participants, especially for our Mala Singh ji and all the Prem Jain Memorial Trust for the members and Payal ji and on my dear student friends for the Prem Jain Memorial Trust, the World Green Build Week 2020 and 21. So as a part of this program, the GMR Institute of the Technology is hosting the 5th day. The topic is simplifying sustainability for all. So thank you for all the giving the opportunity to us to conduct this webinar for the last 5th day. I heartily welcome to our chief guest, Mala Singh, the founder and MD, TEC Greening India. Welcome you, ma'am. It's given me an immense pleasure to welcome our Prem Jain Memorial Trust members. Welcome you all. I warm welcome to our host institute and associate institute, associate societies, and all my dear lovable student friends across India. So in our GMRIT, the IGBC started inaugurated on the September 2018 From that onwards, hereafter, we had more than 250 programs we have conducted for the various activity for the students. Especially for this lockdown period, we are used to the tremendous for conducting the many programs through the online modes. And also, we conducted regularly for the faculty development program, the faculty members for GMRT as well as the outside faculty members. So we are invited for IGC members. They are also happily accepted and participated enthusiastically for all the faculty development programs. So in this regard, so I'm very happy to introduce our today's chief guest, Mala Singh ma'am, the founder and MD, PEC Greening India. So Mala Singh is a leading and a specialized expert of the green, healthy, and net zero buildings, climate changes, and the sustainability with many years of experience with the best proven credential of our various sectors like building construction, hospitality, healthcare, education, industrial, government, and corporate, and many more. She is an alumni of the IIT Roorkee, certified IGBC fellow, IGBC AP, and GRIHS CP, and lead green associate. She is an advisory board of the various government committees and prestigious associate to empower sustainability and green built environmental concept among all. So in these few words, I'm hand over to the section to our chief guest, Mala Singh ma'am. Thank you, Anuj.
Thank you so much, sir. And I am like as sir already shared about the brief about our today's speaker, Miss Mala Singh. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining from Mumbai and taking out time from your schedule. So I have a question for all the people, like whoever joined. Are you interested for learning something new from today's session? Please put yes in the chat box if you are interested or excited to learn something new from today's session. Put yes in the chat box. And if you are no, please put no. Put yes if you are interested or excited. Put yes, everyone, please put yes in the chat box. I will shout out the name. We can see Ramesh, Nadipalli, Sharmila, Pavni, Yabaji, Teki. Okay, very nice, very nice. People are responding yes, so they are here and they are listening to us. Very nice. Thank you so much. So now I request Miss Mala Singh ji, please take it from here and share your insights and thoughts.
Yeah. So am I audible?
Yes,
yes, you are audible.
Yes. So thank you so much, Anuj, for a wonderful introduction, and Vijay Kumarji. And it was lovely to be here, and it's my privilege to be a part of such a prestigious and very costful event, you know, which we are celebrating for the Green Building Week 2021. And I'm very happy that this program organizers are Prem Jain Memorial Trust and as well as the GMR Institute of Technology, and in association with Indian Green Building Council. I think my dear students, all the audience who are joining this program, when we talk about Dr. Prem Jain, who is not with us today, but I think his very beautiful memories which I have, I feel that his inspiration is helping me, you know, to take this journey forward. Not only me, I think it's all the industry stakeholders. When we talk about green building, when we talk about green products and technologies, I think late Dr. Prem Jain has played a vital role in creating this, you know, in propagating this green building movement across the country. We always call him, you know, Bhisham Pitamaha of green building. And Dr. Jain was such a, I would say, guiding force for us. He was a torch-bearing, you know, personality for us who has guided us from the first building when we created in the India, you know, first green building. I think his major contribution can never be ignored, because it was he who has, you know, brought this concept to the country and then set up Indian Green Building Council and took this leadership forward, so that today we have more than 8 billion square feet construction green building footprint in the country. So Dr. Jain has a dream. During my interaction, I have observed always that he always spoke about Green Bharat. So his, you know, it's his vision that we want a green Bharat. So Bharat should be on the top of the word, you know, as a green and sustainable Bharat. So it is not just, you know, we are talking green here, but we should be on the top of the word, you know, when somebody talks about sustainability, somebody talks about the example of sustainable development, green initiative. So it was about Bharat, green Bharat. So I think we are just a small, tiny drops of water who are contributing to take this dream forward of Dr. Dear Jain, and we want to contribute in that. So I want to just share my slide. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah. So as I rightly said that we are here for celebrating the World Green Building Week, which itself is a big moment for the entire world, when we are talking about this very, very important subject, green. But the topic of this particular program was simplifying sustainability for all. So my dear friends, you must have heard about sustainability is a very buzzword nowadays. We talk about sustainable development, we talk about green building, we talk about sustainability, but we should not make it as a very complex word, so that a common man cannot understand. So this is what the vision of Dr. Jain, which I had realized that he always talked about common man. He always talked about how we can be so inclusive. Sustainability can be an inclusive component of everyone's life. It has to be a lifestyle of the people. It should be the green living part of our life. It should be a part of the development. It should be the part of our entire policy mechanism at global and national level. This is what the vision of sustainability for, simplifying it for everybody, each and every individual on this planet. So it is not a very exclusive property of somebody, somebody can use that sustainability is for only exclusive business purpose. No, it's not like that. I will prove you in my few next slides. So friends, when we talk about sustainability, I think being a student, you must have heard about a lot of definitions of this particular subject. Every individual intellectual or like-minded people, they have set up their own definitions. They said that sustainability is about conservation, about preservation. It's about green building. It's about saving nature. Some people say, so many definitions it has. And globally, when we talked about sustainability, you must have heard, being a student in your curriculum, that sustainability definition was founded by Brundtland. So he talked about people, planet, and profit. 3 triple bottom line parameters when he gave it in the definition. I think after that, so many people has talked about, they have done a lot of interpretation about what is sustainability for them. And they have created so many definitions. So many definitions in the word. If you just Google search, you will find this definition, that definition. But for me, for us, what is the definition? I would love to share with you my thoughts on that. So friends, sustainability for me, for us, is a journey. We are all stakeholders on the Mother Earth, and we all individually at community level, at a corporate level, whatever we do in our individual life, in our business, operation, as a government stakeholder, or any nature of stakeholder we are, doesn't matter. So how individually we are contributing, small, bigger, medium, whatever level. So we are all, there is a one common goal. There is a one purpose of life now, that is a sustainability for us to achieve. It's only your roots are different, but finally the goal is one. It's simply one goal. So sustainability, as per my point of view, it's a continuous journey by any individual, by any community, by any stakeholder. When we continue this journey, we don't bother about the results. Just like Gita mythology, we don't bother about the results. We are just continuing our journey. We are just doing our bit. We are just acting consciously. We are taking care of environment. We are looking into the principle of conservation and preservation from the heart in a true sense. And we are just crossing this journey towards the end goal, which is not a result oriented. We are not speaking about here results. We are talking about a path. So according to me, it's a path. So let's, use this path and do our bit for the environment. This is what I believe the sustainability is about. And when you look into after definitions, let me tell you why we are talking about sustainability today. So my dear students and other audience friends, everyone knows that post-pandemic, I think we have become more conscious about climate change, global warming. These are also buzzwords nowadays because so many Kyoto Protocol and international summits are happening where we are discussing this particular agenda of global warming, climate change. We are talking about CO2 emissions. We are also talking about the mitigation and measures strategies by every country, by I would say there are so many seminar and conferences happening. But why we need sustainability, that is also very important subject to understand. I will show you in this particular slide very important thing. You can see the red mark area. If you see the global statistics, the ratio of your square kilometer area of a city versus the number of people per capita. So you will be surprised that the countries like Australia, Russia, so they have almost 9 number, 36 number, 25 number per square kilometer, one person. But when it comes to my country, when it comes to our India, so you will be surprised that the area in terms of square kilometer, people per square kilometer is a 464 number per square kilometer. So I think this is really alarming and something we need to understand. Being a developing country, we need to do a lot now. Our journey is just yet to start. We need to work a lot on this particular concept in terms of mitigating the impact of climate change and global warming. So you can understand our demographic scenario, the population we have in India, the kind of non-equitability in terms of resource availability, resource capacity, region wise. So we have a lot of gaps in that as well. So I think this is the time where we need to look into this policy and governance mechanisms where we can lead this sustainability path in a right direction. Even if you look into the carbon dioxide emission level of CO2, so you will see that in India itself, the total CO2 emission is more than 6 lakh tons, which we are emitting as on today. And the population which we have today, that is 1.39 billion. And by 2030, we are going to become 2 or 3 times of that. So the kind of development is happening, the kind of resource exploitation we are doing now. So this is a very alarming time for us. And friends, I also love to just mention here, if you look into the resource exploitation, we are standing already on the tipping points. So there is no option B, because we are already standing on the tipping point. We must do green. We must follow sustainable practices. We must look into sustainable development as a part of our nation agenda, our policies agenda. So it should be integral part of our entire policy mechanism of the government or any public sector, government sector, private sector. I think it should be a part of our core business, core policy portal everywhere. So it is a very important subject now. So if you look into this slide also, the same comparative statistics I'm trying to show here, where India stands in terms of global scenario today. So in this particular slide, I'm just trying to show you, I think some of you guys are aware that NITI Aayog, Central Government of India's NITI Aayog department, they have just recently released a guideline, which is 2021 guideline document, very comprehensive document on the urban planning. So what kind of policies for the reforming of your urban planning we require? So this policy documents clearly states that in India, we require huge, very effective policies, region-wise, very effective policies, depending on the demographic nature of every city, every town. So this is a very good document, I would say, when I was going through it. So I found it very useful. So I would suggest you to go through this document and you will definitely gain a lot of stuff, very important, I would say, the component you will find from this particular document. So what we need to do at master plan level for the cities, what kind of policies we require, I think a lot of things are very clear in this document, in this comprehensive document, beautiful document. Please go through it, because now it is well understood that 11% of your total global urban population in the cities just belongs to our country, India. So we need to understand, so what kind of development we are talking now, it has to be sustainable. Sustainability should be integral part of our entire master plan levels of the city. This is what this particular document teaches us about. So here in this particular slide, I'm talking about here very important component, which is IPCC report 2021. So some of you must be knowing that recently IPCC report 2021 talks about climate change and global warming, because initially in the Kyoto Protocol, it was mentioned that 1.5 degree temperature is going to increase. But now IPCC report says that due to human activity, due to over exploitation of resources, it is not only 1.5 degrees centigrade, but it is going to be 2 degrees centigrade. Now this may happen. So now imagine when, we have so many platforms which are, making us aware about the real situation, about the real scenario, which may happen. Thank God it should not happen. That's another thing. But we are aware at least what is going to happen. So this is the right time to take the action accordingly for all the stakeholders through their individual green attributes, through their green contribution in different way of life. So here this is you can find it when you do the Googling on the social media, you will find that you can see that at 1.5 degree, what we are going to face and what we are going to face at different temperature and different variations in the climate change pattern. You know that every time you can see that the rain is happening, the rainfall number is increasing, the level, the intensity of rain, the drought, the catastrophic events we are experiencing. I think this is unimaginable because we never thought upon like this, because suddenly we know that next day rain is going to happen. The amount of rain it is falling, we were expecting 100 mm, but now it is 3 times of that, which is affecting the entire scenario of our, I would say it is affecting our agriculture industry, it is affecting our construction industry, it is affecting our entire economy. So this is very important time for all of us to understand the need of the measures we need to adopt in our individual level, individual businesses, individual core operations. So this is a high time. And friends, especially the areas like coastal areas, like I am calling for Mumbai city. Today I'm sitting in Mumbai because the coastal areas are very highly affected by the climate change. And recently I would like to share with you the municipal commissioner of Mumbai city itself. He talked about that by 2050, the Mumbai city, the Nariman Point, and the Marine Drive, which that these all are going to be underwater. So these kind of statements are coming from our leadership. So now imagine this is a very serious issue. And even your all celebrities' house, their bungalows, just along the coastal line. So imagine what is going to happen. So very alarming time. So here I would like to just mention about the statistics about water scarcity. So I think this picture itself is showing you very real picture of the water scenario at global level and at regional and national level. When you look into the water, I think, I don't know how many of you students, you know that how much water we have on the planet. This is, I think I asked this question in various forums, but most of the people are not aware. Even the common man, we need to sensitize people also to know about these facts and findings. If you look into the entire Earth's surface, so entire 71% of the Earth's surface, which is just oceans, and we can't drink ocean. We can't drink this saline water, and we can't work like Singapore in India. Because in Singapore, it is possible, their population is small. There, they have a technology, they have resource ability to invest in the desalination. In India, the such kind of population we have, the demographic structure, we cannot fulfill the need of potable water by desalination plants. So here, friends, you need to understand we have less than 1% water which is potable. And some water is frozen in your glaciers, and some part of that is just in the lakes and rivers. So now how important it is to make our river, our lake, our natural resources and water bodies. Now it's very important to understand that they should be clean. Why the water pollution we need to rectify. So I think this itself is very clear. If you see the resource availability on the Mother Earth. So I think this itself defines the value of resources to us. So I think this is well understood. So now I'm coming to the, because it's just 40-minute time to cover sustainability is such a vast subject, and each and every sector can contribute for this particular aspect. So here, when we talk about hospitality sector, let me start with the hospitality, because hospitality is the very biggest, guzzler of energy, because huge energy consumption, because it is a luxury, hospitality is a very luxury configuration. When we talk about hotel industry, it is a responsible luxury, which we need to empower actually in terms of sustainability in the hotel sector, in the hospitality sector. And I'm very happy today just to inform you that on the Google, if you see that the travel blogs and travel industry, the Google, they have done a lot of survey, and they have find out that 87% of global travelers, they are demanding for the responsible luxury. They want sustainability in the hotel industry, because they want to visit, they want to book the hotels which are more sustainable, which are more green. Even the Google is also now booking the, for the visitors blogs, they are also mentioning this sustainable facilities of hotel industry. So which is a very, very good thing. And apart from that, I think if you see at the hotel level, in the hospitality, we also need to, I think most of the industry people from the hospitality sector, they have also their understanding and taking initiative, making their hotel by using green building concept. So from the design level itself, you understand the energy efficiency optimization, you understand the resource consumption optimization, you understand the indoor environmental quality aspects. So green building concept is also getting popular in various sectors. So hospitality sector is also one of that. And apart from the design, there is operation, because operation really very important. So it is not just you build green, but finally, when you operate it, what kind of practices, what kind of behavior approach you have, that's very, very important. Because in the hotel industry, because I'm working very closely with some of the hotels, where we look into the operation and their, the practices they follow. I think it is a high time post pandemic to attract international visitors, to look into this sustainability aspects in a very, very holistic manner. So when you talk about sustainable packaging, you talk about sustainable food, you talk about organic practices in their food items, in their catering services, I think everything works out in the hotel industry then. So their sustainability endeavors can be, fulfilled by following these practices. Some of the hotel, I see that some of the people have already started, but still it's like a small droplet in an ocean. So we need to do a lot. So next, I would say healthcare sector. And let me just share with you, this is the area really our Indian policies, the government sector need to really work very hard. Because if you look into the health sector, like your rural areas, you find your dispensary, you look into your multi-specialty clinics. This is my personal experience. I have seen that the biomedical waste, it's just going in the mainstreams of the water bodies. Nobody just care about the nature of the waste they are dealing with, because they don't understand the intensity, the potential of hazardousness, and the health impacts of those kind of waste streams. So I think this is the area in the healthcare sector. And I'm very happy to share with you that Indian Green Building Council and there are other certification bodies who have brought very good strategies for making your hospitals, your healthcare facilities, from the design level, they can be also done as a green hospital, certified green hospitals. Because you can look from the design side, you can look into the materials and technologies you use in the hospital. Especially, I would like to give emphasis here for the filtration system. Because in the healthcare, very, very important is your indoor environmental quality, which we generally ignore. Because I have observed that in the patient room, in the ward room, I have seen that the air quality is so bad and the people don't monitor that. That's the very big gap we need to fill upon. And new technology interventions are there, that you have a filtration system now, which can look upon your COVID-19 impact also. They can help you in terms of bacterial infection, rectification. Those systems can help you to improve the air quality. And the monitoring system also can help you to understand the quality of air you are breathing in and the quality of air you are providing to the patients who are admitted in your hospitals. So healthcare is a very, very important industry where this green initiative and sustainability aspects need to be addressed in a very, very large way, because medical waste is very important. And your equipment, like nowadays we are wearing masks. Sorry, I'm not wearing right now because I'm speaking to you directly, but basically the recycling of these masks and those sort of, the initiative need to be taken by the healthcare industry, and also need to reduce their paper consumption, their energy consumption, and improve the overall environmental quality in the hospital sector. So this is what about healthcare industry can contribute. Some have started, if I am not wrong. Now, if you look into the healthcare policy of Government of India, where we are also working on All India Medical Institutes projects, they have created a mandate. There is a policy in India now that by the Government of India itself, that all their hotels they are building new for All India Medical Aims and other forums. So all those hospitals are going to be green by default. So it's a policy there. So I'm very happy. So design level government is doing intervention. But when these hospitals will be operated, I want that those people should also, their operational team, their facility team, they should also operate those healthcare and hospital facilities efficiently, so that the results they are expecting in the design, it can be perceived when they are operating those healthcare facilities. Next. So now coming to the corporate sector, because after post-COVID, what happened? This is the, I would say, in the social media, if you check on the LinkedIn or other, it's a like, the flood. I would say it's a like sustainability is just like buzzword. Every second person is talking about sustainability, especially the corporate sector, because of the financial obligations they have, because of their CSR policies they have. So it is at policy level, the lot of talks are going to happen. The people have sustainability department, people are hiring sustainability managers. I'm sure that will affect your green job sector, green entrepreneurship sector also. But I think it is a good move, and I would say it's a very, very positive side of, I would say, post-pandemic. I can see that a lot of consciousness is happening about this environment and social governance, which you call ESG. I don't know how many of you knows about this particular component, because when you look into the sustainability, it's about ESG, which is environmental and social governance. So when any the multinational company or any financial institution, they are looking for the investors or partnership program, they want responsible companies who are following ESG practices, who are already looking into the sustainability as a part of their business core operation. So this is a good thing, which I feel as an expert that after a post-pandemic, I realized that this is a positive side of the consciousness. But the point is that if you look into the, at present time, we have reached only 5 to 6% only. So there is a big gap of 95%. Because we are talking about CSR, we are doing plantation drive, we are looking into the green building and all those things corporate sector talks about. But how those policies are being implemented or ground level, what kind of governance mechanisms they have, that is also very understand whether who's the third, what is the third party mechanism to understand whether those policies are effective or not, or in reality those policies are implemented or executed efficiently. So this is what the area we still need to look upon. And I think government should also bring some policies for this particular aspect also. Just having policy is not sufficient, but implementation is the one part which corporate governance can look after, but the governance by the third party to check the effectiveness of those execution strategies also equally important to see the overall change and overall transformation through corporate sector intervention in the area of sustainability. So coming, having said that corporate sector, because it plays a very, very important role when we talk about sustainability, equally common man also plays a very important role, which I'll show you in my next slides. But when it comes to the business sector and the corporate sector, because it has become a lot of, I would say, obligations through policy mechanism on the corporate sector to Government of India policies and some reporting system of inventory of carbon emissions. So these policies like PET India program and some carbon footprint reporting, water footprint reporting, like Carbon Disclosure Project is another program. Then your GRI Global Reporting Initiative is there. So those all global platforms are basically being adopted by the corporates, but still, we need more and more work in terms of third-party governance also to check the effectiveness of those policies and execution strategies. So just coming to the agriculture sector also, when we talk about climate change, we talk about global warming. So not only the healthcare and hospitality we just talked about, it is the agriculture sector which is getting affected in a very, very big way. Let me tell you, all these catastrophic events, when they are affecting this irregular patterns of rain, so it is causing your drought, it is causing your, I would say, even the monocropping is the biggest area where I think the globally a lot of the intellectuals are thinking now, so how we need to encourage organic practices in agriculture. So that's a big challenge in front of us. But I'm very happy, at least if we say that Rome was not built in a day, but at least some consciousness, I can feel that, we started to talk about these things. And, globally people are having those policies, talking about these things, organic, people are talking about soil preservation, because soil we always ignore. Because soil is such an important component, when we talk about sustainable development. I think topsoil is never given importance, neither in the building construction level. When we excavate the soil, we generally, ignore this part of topsoil storage. We just take out, when we make a building, we excavate, we just remove the entire top fertile soil. And my dear friends, this topsoil takes more than 80 years. 80 years, imagine, to make a fertile soil, it takes 80 years, because it is rich with carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, all the healthy nutrients which requires to plant grow, which requires for your flora, fauna, your biodiversity. But we just ignore it. You must have observed that in urban area, we just start excavation and construction is happening. Later, we are calling it green building, but equally important that soil should be given importance for its preservance, because topsoil is very, very important component. It is affecting our agriculture industry as well. And some of the species, I'll tell you few recent studies, global studies from very, very relevant sources, they are clearly indicating that some species are just going to be depleted in the future. For example, you can see from my slide, it is about potatoes, avocados, vanilla, wild cotton, wild beans, chili pepper, tomatoes. These are the, the scientific studies have been done by various leading scientists of the entire world. They are saying these are again just like endangered species. We are already depleting insects. I think we have endangered species which are going to be depleted, because of the impact of climate change and global warming, due to wildfire, due to these catastrophic events. So it's a very, very nowadays, I think we all should be green thinkers. So we require, you are the next gen. So your help is very much needed to tackle these challenges. So now I'm coming to the very important subject, because some of you guys have just mentioned when Anuj was talking, interacting with you guys. So you said we have the interest in green building. So now I am coming to the construction sector. So my dear friends, construction sector itself is the largest contribution of carbon dioxide emission. 39% of your electrical consumption is just because of construction sector. When you develop new building, you construct new building, or when you operate existing building, it consumes a lot of energy, specifically commercial sector, because it has a centralized AC system. It has a large set of electromechanical equipment. So there is a huge energy consumption is there. So now you imagine, keeping in the mind all this scenario, which I have shown you in my previous slides, climate change, global warming. and its impact on the environment holistically. I think now construction sector is taking a move ahead for the green building sector. Things are happening, but as I said earlier, this is just like a small, tiny drops of water. We need to do a lot, because the impact is too big, and we are taking small measures, but we are already on the tipping point. So we need to just increase our pace. We need to increase our speed of taking actions about the environmental safeguards. This is what I want to communicate to you all here. And when we talk about construction sector, let me tell you, friends, it is not just about green building. Okay, it's not just because why we are making green buildings, that is also very important to understand, because it is causing air pollution, it is causing water pollution, noise pollution, soil pollution. Then it is also because you are losing land, you are losing green land, greenfield land. So this is a very big area of concern for us. Build green and live green. Build healthy and live healthy. So this is what, reason is that why we need green buildings. And green building, how we make green building, I'll tell you, it's a very big strategy. If I take your class, it will take 2 more days or 3 days. But simply, green building is a building which basically helps you to optimize your natural resources. It generates less waste. It optimizes energy. It optimizes your water consumption. It is also helping you to improve your indoor environmental quality. It also helps you to decrease the heat island effect also, which is very important, because we are talking about warming of the cities due to climate change, because of the concretization, because of the urban concretization. So where green building, when we design, because we use the materials which are decreasing your, which helps us to decrease the heat also, which helps us to decrease the solar radiation impact on our concrete structures, because we use green paint, cool paint in the green buildings. So this is what green building has a broader picture in terms of its tangible and intangible benefits to the society, on the resources, on the environment, and on anybody's health as an individual, and also in terms of economics also, because green buildings also helping us in terms of your operational cost also cut down, because your energy consumption is going to cut down 20 to 30%. Your water consumption is also cut down 30 to 40%. And finally, in the green building, you are using sustainable material, which is a very important, because it has least embodied energy. This is what the focus in the green building when you make a building green. And in India, let me tell you, we have IGBC, Indian Green Building Council certification program. We have other rating system. We have GEM rating. We have LEED also. So rating may be any rating, but the point is that it's about the kind of practices you follow during design. Your architects play a role, your engineers play a role during construction, and your entire purchase team also play a very important role in the green procurement process. This is what the sustainable development. It is not just rating a building green just by checklist or checkpoints. It's a continuous approach. It's a holistic approach. Starting from the first day of your planning of your site selection, then your designing element, then your procurement of materials, green and sustainable materials, least embodied materials. Then it is coming to your building operation, then how you operate the buildings, its electromechanical equipments, your behavior approach matters, your efficiency of your facility team also matters here, consciousness of society also matters here, the kind of behavior approach they also follow, when they are staying in those green places, green offices, green homes, or any green building, which really matters. So my point is here, it is an inclusive approach. It is not green building is just a baby of some one particular entity. Only it's a developer. He is only decision maker. He is only decision maker. The finally is the end user also, who has a responsibility to continue that greenness throughout the life cycle of that particular building or space where he's going to work as a green office, where he's going to stay as his home. So this is what, the essence of this particular slide I would like to share. It is the role and responsibility of each and every stakeholder who is involved in that development. This is what I'm trying to say. And in the next slide, I'm going to show you transportation sector. Because when we talk about sustainability or sustainable development here, I think your fossil fuel consumption is also very important. And I'm very happy that in India now we have EV policy. I think most of you must be aware that electric charging vehicles are getting, very popular very soon. And Indian government is taking a lot of steps now, especially in Maharashtra, because I stay here. I know that the government has started a program that any housing society, if you have a EV charging station, so you get a property tax rebate here. I hope in most of the states, other states also will adopt this program. So these kind of things are, I think, very much into that. Now people are starting, government and municipal corporations are also, propagating these policies in their areas. So I think things are happening in a good way, in a positive side. So this is all a sustainability contribution from policymakers, from the end user side. When we implement those practices in my housing society, my building, my office, so that is my contribution starts at when I do the execution of those policies effectively. So now coming to the sustainability is not just restricted to only healthcare, hotel or construction sector. It is, I think, for everyone. So now we talk about the any kind of industrial sector. I'm giving you example of one sector here. For example, we are talking about textile sector. So when we are, I think globally, we have already started to talk about sustainable clothing. Then we talk about sustainable manufacturing, green products. We are talking about sustainable packaging, sustainable shipping, sustainable warehousing, sustainable, I would say everything is going to be sustainable. When you look into the kind of consciousness will increase and it is taking a shape now. I think we want basically every sector should follow this practice as a sustainable should be now the way of life, the way of your manufacturing, the way of your packaging, the way of your the system you do production, you do manufacturing, you follow anything in your life, whatever you do, it has to be sustainable. The point is here that. So when it comes to the policies, because I told you the policies are very, very important component. And let me just share with you, specifically, I'll give you example in, especially in the construction sector. In 2004, there was no green building. There was no environmental clearance or protocols for the construction sector. And everybody was just generating the sewage. There was no green mechanism, no green policy. So, but after that in 2004, when this EIA notification, which is a environment impact notification has come up by the Ministry of Environment and Forest, I think after that, some conscious has, I would say, awakened, the builder industry, and they started to take environmental clearance from their state environmental department and MOEF and all that. Then I think people started to think like, oh, there is a pollution during when I am doing construction. There is air pollution from DG sets. There is a pollution from the dust emissions. Then they started to think about these things. Then this subject has come in their mind, because before that it was just only pollution from the industry, just a smoke only. But then after that, through this policy intervention of EIA, people started to think about that what is environmental clearance. But the part here, my point is here, which I would like to share with you, governance mechanism, because we had policy in place, but there is no mechanism in India still, whether if it is my building, I'm taking environmental clearance, but how I ensure that all those conditions of those government policies are being implemented on ground or not. So there is no third party governance mechanism as such today. This, I think, area where as a green thinker, I would like to propagate everywhere through this forum or my communication with the government. So this is what the gap is. Because sometime, I used to talk with some government stakeholders that we should have now environment police. Because the point is that I'm not saying policing something like you encourage corruption or something. But the point is here is we can give job to the people like as a green auditors, environment auditors, as a third party auditors who can go to the site and can check whether those conditions are being implemented or not. I think this is what green building sector, which is propagated by the public sector and certification bodies, that really plays a crucial role here, because they don't provide a certification to a project unless they don't follow the green construction practices on site in reality. So this is what I see ki instead of government here, the certification bodies are playing a very important role here, because government doesn't have any governance mechanism, but the certification bodies have a proper protocol of governing the entire thing, whether the during construction practices, you follow the protocols, you look into the emission part, how do you follow the quantitative and qualitative approach. So this is what I think green building certification bodies are really playing a very important role. Now I'll just show you here why a common man can also.
We continue taking care in the kitchen. Recycling used oil prevents severe environmental damage. Did you know that 1 liter of oil pollutes?
Yes. So you must have seen in this video, when you just, consume the 1 liter of oil is causing 1000 liter water pollution. Imagine this, how a common housewife, or how from a restaurant or hotel industry, when we people use in our kitchen, our pantries, we use oil, how important it is for us to understand how to optimize these resources utilization, so that we are not causing, harm to the environment, to our water bodies, to our water streams. Because this small initiative, if we take from my house and we use less oil, we try to, put less oil in our, when we wash our utensils. I think these small practices can help us to achieve sustainability from the core level of my, the living style. Just 1 minute. Yeah. So there is another example. So idea here is when you switch off from your conventional lifestyle in terms of technology, in terms of like, suppose you are using a conventional bulb and instead you use a LED bulb. I know that nowadays most of the people are aware about this, but you see the difference in terms of resource optimization. It is very, very visible, because you can see you can save a lot of money in terms of your electricity bill. If you use, I would say, B-star rated or ECDC certified ACs, you have B-star rated monitors, computers, TV, refrigerators, everything in the market is available now. Government is also promoting through your energy conservation building codes are also promoting that. Green building sector is also promoting that. I think these small things, when as a housewife I purchase any equipment from the market, or the practices we follow at home, that itself is contributing towards the sustainability. It is not something as only if you are working in a corporate, only you are contributing. Even as an individual also in my day-to-day life, we can contribute like this. Similarly, yes. This is another example. Yeah. Yes. So I think here in this particular video, what I'm trying to just convey the message to you, just small, do's and don't in our life. Like suppose we cover the utensil, when we are basically, we want to warm the water. So, it will require less fossil fuel energy. So small things which our housewives, which can our cook or anybody who's working in the house, if they follow, they can also contribute. So sustainability is not a property of just a big corporate or business houses. Anyone in a common man can contribute in their own way. This is what my point is. Yeah. So here, I think after having said that, how individuals can contribute in their way of life, as a green living, the sustainability contribution, I think digitization is also very, very important. I think you all know that we have on social blogs, we can transfer the money, we can book the Ola, we can book the, anything we can do through digitization. It's so easy nowadays through digitization, so that, we are also conserving a lot of resources by following these good practices. Instead of, we are carrying, we are taking a shopping bag from a market, we are using clothing, normal, just a bag with us, normal, just we keep our water bottle with us. Rather we use a Bisleri bottle, we use just small, our own bottle we carry. in our bag. So these small practices are helping by any individual common man as a community level, at an individual level, in the contribution of sustainability. This is what I'm trying to say here. Similarly, like plastic, because we are just propagating, government is also propagating that single use of plastic, and we know the reasons very well now, because this is how important it is for us. But still, I think we still, not very awake, and we talk a lot, but we do less. So I think this is the area where we still need to work more. Although we have policies in some the states or some regions, because I belong to Himachal, so I know that I was born and brought up there. They have implemented this policy very nicely there. You need to pay 1,000 rupees penalty if you use just plastic bags there. So I think these kind of policies need to be I would not use the word enforced, but I would say that these need to be monitored, these need to be propagated in such a way so that it becomes in the as a part of the behavior of the public places, or the people who are basically more sensitized and aware about the bad impacts and negative impacts due to single use of plastic. Then just similar to that, if we look into the contribution of sustainability, when we look into the upper class, like suppose I'm buying a vehicle. So if I just switch off from conventional vehicle to EV vehicle now, electric charging vehicle, and the vehicles are available now. So I think this small contribution, as whatever class I belong to, I think this will also help us a lot. And even the upper class can also contribute, like your Rotary clubs or those programs. Those people can do a lot, in terms of at least sensitizing these drives, they can propagate through seminars, awareness programs. They can also contribute a lot. I mean to say here, our influencers of the social society, like our celebrities, like you call it about Sachin Tendulkar, Amitabh Bachchan, whatever, I feel that they should talk more on these practices, and rather, just we always talk about Bollywood, Hollywood, whatever. I think here I wanted them to talk more on green, more talk about on sustainable practices, and when they follow these practices and they sensitize the people, I think it creates a more influence, much wider impact on the society, to follow those practices. Just like a fashion, you can call it the sustainability as a fashion. So I think these are very small do's and don'ts through your volunteering program, through your, I would say, own individual practices, part of your green living, how to reduce waste, how to treat the waste, how to make the compost. And let me tell you, my dear students here, when we talk about water conservation, it is not every time you use very branded water fixtures. You can just use aerators, which is just hardly 40 to 70 rupees cost in the market, and you can use in your house, in your taps, and you can reduce the water flow. So that also helps. It doesn't mean that sustainability cannot exist with the affordability. So there are ways, there are plannings, there are strategies, which it's only the passion, it's only our mindset actually. I'll give you I'll show you here one example, global example. This is a mall, you can see, where the people have used their entire this roof garden just to grow the organic vegetables. So imagine, they have used 600 jars. They are also producing honey here, and they are producing 600 jars of honey, which is they are, selling there in this market itself. And at least this is a 25,000 acres area, where they are using this in the supermarket and growing this organic farm here. So these are very, I would say, we will find so many examples on the social media blogs, Better India, or so many things you can see nowadays. People are inspiration for you. We need to learn, we need to follow those practices in our life, whatever we can do, whatever is possible by us. And this is another example which I really love to talk here. Like, they are a couple from Brazil, and they have, spent their entire 20 years of their life in just, returning something to the nature. So what they have done, they had a piece of land, which is in acres. I would say it's, I think more than 4 million saplings they have done in their own property. And they have been able to bring, 172 bird species, 33 species of mammals, and 293 species of plants, with 15 species of reptiles, 15 species of amphibians. Imagine they have quantified also what they have contributed to the nature. They have quantified their contribution. So it is so important to understand how much I am contributing. So it's so beautiful examples we have. And this is, you can see from the slide itself, how this was looking in the 2001 on the left side, and you can see the impact in 2019. So imagine we have wonderful examples, to get inspired. And there's another lady from our own India, from Telangana. She's Ana Surya Amma, who's from 25 years. She's just working in the 22 villages, and she has been able to plant more than 2 million trees. Imagine just a single lady. See the women empowerment. See a single, just one single lady, the leadership role she had played in the area of sustainability. She was not just a corporate or business house. So just see a power of one single man or one single woman can play also very important role in terms of contribution in the path of sustainability to reach that common goal, which I have shown you in the beginning of my slide. This is another beautiful story and very inspiring. I really loved it. He is the forest man of India. He has got Padma Vibhushan also from the government. Mr. Jadhav Peng from Odisha. This guy, this person was just, planting the trees, doing his sapling or plantation from last 70 years. Imagine the people who have spent their life for the environment. It means they see their sacrifices. And the entire Brahmaputra river basin, it was completely decayed. It was dried. There was nothing when he started his work. But today, imagine the 1,360 acre of land, which is equal to 550 hectare. The kind of this one single man power. Imagine what it can do. So it's a single man. But see, it's passion. It's your heart. So when you think, in a right way, when there is honesty, there is a love towards Mother Nature, I think nature also helps you. Nature also gives you power. So you got the spiritual power from the nature itself. Nature helps you. This is what, the beauty of your strong, I would say, your willingness, your passion, your beautiful heart, and your honesty, and your love towards Mother Nature. So these are basically when I have talked about other various examples in the green building industry. We are talking about energy, we are talking about water. We are also talking about nowadays green product industry. So when you design a green building, there is a need of green product, because without green product, you can't design a building green. You can't make a building green. So when you make a building green, so you are affecting so many industries in the round. So you are basically empowering green supply chain. You are empowering green product industry. You are enhancing green jobs. You are enhancing, more, I would say, products, and the cost part also cutting down. Because initially when the green building movement was started in our country, let me tell you one example. When the first project was done in CII's Hyderabad's office, which was the first building of India. It is in Hyderabad, CII's head office, which is the first green building of the country. So that time, the cost of the product or green building escalation due to green product use in that building was, I think it was more than 20 or 40%. But today is nothing, because your policy intervention is there. Your development control rule of your regions talks about environmental regulation, and some people are doing under some environmental obligations of financial management, or their funding, or their investors issues. But nowadays they are getting incentives also from the government. So there are a lot of reasons to make green, to build green. Sometimes it is from your heart. Sometimes you contribute voluntary level. Sometimes it is when you have some attractive policies in place, then you build green. So building green for some developers also, there are two kind of mindsets in the market. Everybody doesn't want to do this green building. Sometimes they feel, okay, there is a green incentive, we will build green. But some people I have seen, those builders, they make every building green. So it's all your mindset. When people have that mindset, I will build only green, they will only make green building. They don't mind about the green incentives. But some people, when there is a conventional mindset, they just feel that, okay, if I will get the incentives, only I will make the green building. So now, when I said green incentive, I think from this platform, I would like to tell you, my dear friends, that in India now we have a lot of policies in place, lot of incentives have been given by government at the state region wise, where you can feel that if your buildings are certified, builders get higher FSI. FSI means you get more sellable area in terms of floor space index. So if your building is suppose 5-star rated or it is a platinum rated, you get extra 7% extra FSI. If it is a gold rated, you get 5% extra FAR or FSI. If it is a normal even silver rating also, you get 3%. So like it's 7%, 5%, 3% like that. So it's very good move by the government also. The policies are also changing. So I think it's going to be very nice. Specifically, I would like to emphasize here in Maharashtra, there is a government development control rule DCR in 2020, which was just recently launched. It itself says that if your building is green, so you are going to get all these benefits. So it is an integral part of the development control rule policy. So this is what I feel, that now more interventions by the policymakers is really helping us a lot to boost, to propagate this green building movement forward. And I'm very sure that this is affecting green jobs. More investors like you will get green jobs in the market. You can work in the solar energy sector. You can work in the green building sector. You can work in the green product manufacturing sector. You can become yourself as a green entrepreneur. So you can, propagate sustainability agenda to the any association, corporates. You can start your own consulting. You can start your own manufacturing, because there is a green investment is also available there. So there are some financial institutions, they are also propagating this green investment, the green finance. So these kind of things are also very much, I would say, it's a global scenario and national scenario now. So when I said green education, this is I'm coming to the end now. So green education plays a very, very important role here. So institution like GMR, Institute of Technology. So I think institute like you are very, very important for us to take this moment of sustainability and green building ahead, by sensitizing your students, by doing capacity building program, awareness, seminars, and also you can make your campuses also green. You can convert your existing educational campus also into green. And when you are building your new educational campuses, you can set the example for the community. So you can follow the practices yourself. So charity begins at home. So this is what my message is to educational institution also, to follow these practices yourself and start preaching and teaching the same subjects in your curriculum, so that your students get inspired. And when they, passed out from your institution, so they also create the opportunity for others. They develop the opportunities for themselves. So this is what this module of green entrepreneurship can be established in a very, very effective manner. So I think this is my last slide, Anuj. I can see Anuj on the slide. He's visible there. So I think this is my last slide, okay? So this is the role of media, especially the electronic channel. So this is my urge to my government from this platform, to broadcasting ministry. So in every news channel, I think we need to have a mandate that every, if you have a 1 hour news, you should contribute at least 1 minute to sensitize the stakeholders, to talk the stories, to talk more about the green, to talk more on the sustainable practices. So this is what the role of media will play in the way of sustainability. Point here is how we all are collectively contributing towards the same goal. Doesn't matter whatever businesses I do, doesn't matter whatever role I play as an individual, as a housewife, as a common man. The point is how I am taking my journey forward of this sustainability aspect and working on the one purpose of life, one common goal. So sustainability for all can be defined in a right manner, with a right approach, and win-win situation for everybody. Thank you very much, my dear students. Any questions you have? Anuj is an anchor here. I think
Yes.
Anuj is a green anchor. So this
Green anchor.
green anchor. That's another. I think Anuj, you should start in education system. We can have a green anchor management. That will be part of the curriculum of MBA, right?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, you are rightly mentioned. And I would like to appreciate like what a presentation, like powerful presentation. Like I was there since start and now, and I was there on each and every slide. So I can see you have covered each and every sector. Like the sustainability field is so broad. If people are like working in this sustainability, they have a huge lot of opportunity can get in the market. Either is a healthcare, either is a hospitality, either is a transport, any sector. If they want to work, a lot of opportunities are there.
Yes, yes.
For the students, I believe like if you are interested being a any branch doesn't matter, like either you are from electrical, mechanical, civil, architecture, any branch, you should have a passion for sustainability, and I think you can work in these sectors. So this is the message for from the presentation itself. Like there are a lot of sectors in which you can work. So thank you so much, ma'am, for a great presentation from your end, and every slide matters a lot. And the example that you quoted, very much appreciated. And I would like to share that Mr. Jamni Opera also joined the session in between, and he shared that the presentation is very precise and interesting. Both hospitality and healthcare are equally important. Well explained and spoken. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's one
Thank
more
you, sir.
feedback from Mr. Rajpal, like a very nice presentation. I'll just say it needs people and government will and a post implementation monitoring of the projects. So he mentioned this one. So now we have come to the questionnaire round. If any questions are there, request to all the attendees. If any questions are there, please put in the chat box, or if you can raise your hand also, we will give you the chance to speak. So if any questions are there, and Mr. Vijay, if you have also any question from the university side, you can also ask to our faculty today.
Ma'am? Sorry,
Your voice is a little bit
Echoing, sir, little bit echoing. Yeah.
yeah, now it's okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine now.
Madam, I happy to inform that in our GMR Interest Technology, secured a AST Clean Campus Award in the national level. So we are the first
Very
place
nice.
in the last year.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I really appreciate.
Yeah. Okay, initially,
Good work.
I want to say, but I forgot.
All right, thank you, sir, for sharing this insight from the college. Any from the attendees, any questions are there related to the sustainability? What any career related thing, if you would like to ask to our faculty? Anyone, any question? All right, we do not coming across any questions, but I have put like all the people like who are there. I have put the LinkedIn profile link of Miss Mala and myself as well, and the PJMT page that we have on the LinkedIn. Please connect all the links, and so that you can connect after this session also with the speakers, with me as well, and with PJMT team as well. Okay, there's a one question like, will there be any projects related to the green building?
I think, what do you say? Will there be any projects related to? Yes, yes, of course. Yes, yes. Let me tell you, dear, in India, this green building journey was started in 2001. So in 2003, there was a one building only, which is 20,000 square feet. And today it is more than 8 billion, just one certification body, which is registered and, certified now in the country. And a lot of certification bodies are working on that. So many green building projects, example in our India. Globally, of course, but India also, we have so many examples from various sectors.
Exactly. And I have just put a one link that IGBC.in, if you would like to explore what are the green building certification that IGBC
Yes.
providing, you can just visit the website. You can see the scorecard, like we have a lot of projects are registered, a lot of projects are under certifications. The IGBC AP, if you are interested for being an IGBC AP after your college, once you have experience of the 2 years, you can apply for the IGBC AP. You can take this credential as well.
Yes.
But any
Very
further
true.
questions, anyone?
Even there is another program, Anuj, for students, that is IGBC Green Associate.
Okay, all right, all right. This is
Yeah.
recently started. Am I?
Yes, yes,
am I right?
yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So if you can just
Yeah.
enroll for the IGBC that associate program, that is also will helpful for you.
And also you can open the student chapter in your college, because we have so many student chapters in IGBC across the country, you know, in all the states it is there through
True.
local chapters intervention. So your institute also can open a student chapter with IGBC.
Right. So there's one question from anonymous, like, how can I make my career out of this?
Oh, so beautiful. So if he can just mention, you know, what is his passion, and like, because there are so many things in green industry. So would you like to just work in manufacturing sector? You want to become consultant? You are, whatever you are, from architectural background, engineering or management, any field you are. So if he can just mention his passion in energy, water, waste, which area you love to work?
Construction. He mentioned construction.
Oh, wow. So what is his background? I would like to understand.
What is the background? If you can just share, because I cannot getting the name.
Civil engineer, I
Civil
guess.
engineering. Yeah, civil engineering.
Oh my God, you have tremendous opportunity, because you can just first do your IGBC AP or Griha CP or any exam in the green building sector, and you can start working with any consulting firm, or you can learn and groom yourself first, and then you can be involved in any green building project, so you understand the approach, making a building green, you know, from the designing level. And let me tell you, civil engineer play a very, very important role. Just don't think that it's architect makes the building, they design on the table, but engineer play a very important role, because you people are the executors, because you need to look into the structural efficiency in terms of optimizing the resources, then construction management practices which we need for a, you know, the sustainable construction management. So civil engineer plays a very, very important role. Even in terms of MEP services also, you can be involved in that designing part also, or either you can be a part of the execution of those projects at the site itself. So it depends upon the opportunity you get, and it depends upon the opportunity you want to work in future. But civil has tremendous role, lot of
Exactly.
opportunities.
So there's a one comment from from Nadipal Pelli, we have also IGB, we are also connected with IGBC with our club called Sector and Civil Department. That's nice.
Oh, very nice. Thank you so much.
Any other questions from anyone? Well, that's a great initiative taken by the Prem Jain Memorial Trust, and we are happy. We are happy to organize this session with GMR Institute of Technology. And thank you so much, Mr. Vijay Kumar, for
Thank you.
taking this initiative from the university side. All
Thank
right,
you, Anuj. Thank you, Anuj. Thank you, Madam team.
we are
Thank
done
you,
with the
Mrs.
question. Mr. Vijay Kumarji, over to you for the closing remarks.
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Vijay Kumar.
Sir, my network is problem, sir. I'm not able to audible.
Okay, no problem. So I can do on your behalf. So thank you so much, all the attendees, for joining this session from different part of the India. I can see people joined from Nagpur, Bangalore, and other part of the, and Vizag as well, majorly the Andhra Pradesh. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to our speaker, Ms. Mala Singh, for taking out the time from your schedule and giving here a great session to the students. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, Mr. Vijay Kumar, for joining and taking the initiative from the university. And the last and not the least, our organizing team, the Prem Jain Memorial Trust. Thank you so much for taking this initiative. The whole week was very interesting because I was a part of various sessions. So thank you so much for organizing this week-long program. And that's all. And thank you so much, everyone. Once again, I'll be there to connect. Like, you can connect me over LinkedIn and other social media platform. You can connect other our faculty also on the social media, so that you can keep in touch with them. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Anuj.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Anuj. Thank you for conducting a great session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Edenji. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah. Thank you, Malaji.
Thank you. Thank
Very
you.
nice and crisp presentation, I must say.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It was from my heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.